and the moon, the syllable Om. So we'll talk about Om today. And he's the sound in ether and the ability in man. So we'll also talk about that today. He also says how he's the original fragrance of the earth. And we saw how there's actually a field of study called petrichor where people actually study this fragrance and how special that is. He's the heat and fire. We'll also talk about life. He says he's the life of all that lives, and I'm the penance of all ascetics. He's the original seed, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas. So in this way, we see how Krishna is saying that how he's present. Now, there's an interesting little point there, a philosophical point there, which we will come to in a little bit. How is he present? Because he also says that I'm present, and yet I am not present. So
that will come in the 9th chapter.
Yeah. That's a good question.
When to chant and when to do kirtan of the Mahamantra. So the kirtan can be done anytime. Chanting, we do it as a regulation, like whatever number of rounds we want to chant as a discipline. So the best time is morning time because the mind is in the mode of goodness. And if morning is not possible, then finding a quieter time when we are not busy and our mind is not disturbed by trying to do this and trying to do that.
And the most important thing in this chanting process is to have regulation, the discipline. So, we set some number for ourselves and we say, this is the minimum that I'm going to chant every day. And then I stay with that. So just by observing the numerical strength, then what we get is called special yoga bal, right? We get superior spiritual strength just by observing that number. Because sometimes in our mind, we may say, isn't it better for me to just focus on quality? What's the value of a number, right? It feels kind of mechanical almost. But there is all the great acharyas, including Lord Chaitanya, they would actually count how many mantras they chanted in a day.
So rather than saying that I chant all day or whenever I feel I chant, that is like the bonus. That kind of chanting should be the bonus. And then the chanting that we count, that is the regulated chanting.
So we continue.
We can read this. This is a nice report.
Okay.
We are talking about seed.
Seed. Okay. So this is chapter 7, text 10. So Krishna says, O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Purport.
Are you sharing the screen, Mataji?
No, I'm just reading. If you can.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just wondering. That's thank you.
Bija means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. There are various living entities, movable and inert. Birds, beasts, men, and many other living creatures are moving. Living entities, trees, and plants, however, are inert. They cannot move, but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 8.4 million species of life. Some of them are moving, and some of them are inert. In all cases, however, the seed of their life is Krishna. As stated in Vedic literature, Brahman, or the supreme absolute truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Krishna is Parabrahman, the supreme spirit. Brahman is impersonal and Parabrahman is personal. Impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect. That is stated in Bhagavad-Gita. Therefore, originally Krishna is the source of everything. He is the root. As the root of a tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in this material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vedadhati Kaman. He's the prime eternal among all eternals. He's the supreme living entity of all living entities, and he alone is maintaining all life. One cannot do anything without intelligence, and Krishna also says that he is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. Very nice.
So we'll see a little bit. Seed is such an amazing thing, and every time I think about seed, it really puzzles the mind that how a life is contained inside the seed, and the seed can stay like that for maybe hundreds of years. Some now they are saving seeds in a bunker in Norway or somewhere, so that if there is a nuclear strike or something and the whole world dissolves, then still the seeds are there.
Wow.
So those seeds will stay there for I don't know how long. And when the right condition comes, the seed comes to life, and it's like a complete package in itself.
And I think corporations are also understanding the power of seeds, and that's the reason why companies like Monsanto, they are really trying, like they're patenting these seeds, right? Because you patent seed, you have the power, that's
to control life.
You control life. You're essentially controlling life or patenting life, right? So like you're saying, right, that it's amazing. Like many times we have wondered like how a mango really comes out of a seed, and everything that is contained in a mango is actually contained in a seed. So it's quite amazing. So we'll watch a little something.
Yeah, when you watch this is a time lapse of a bean seed, and you can see how it's alive. It's like moving things around. It's quite amazing. Looks like a worm. Only after it creates the side arms, then it starts pushing. It's like moving. Where does the force come to push the ground up?
Yeah. So happy to be out.
So this is the this creative force of life is such a amazing thing, and Krishna says, "I am that." And without his creative potency, nothing can happen.
And that's, I think, I know this we're going to talk about later, but I was just thinking as we were watching this that, more and more scientists are now beginning to understand or say that there is just too much intelligence in this world, and that intelligence cannot be random, right? That there is some intelligent design. They don't talk about the designer, but they definitely speak about Is there anyone there? So they definitely talk a lot about the design, because you can see that these are amazing designs, which are just like when you see a beautiful painting, that it wasn't just a randomly, done thing. There's so much attention to detail. So anyways, there is this lady called Vandana Shiv, and she is actually quite a champion of preserving seeds, and she has really stood up against big corporations and speaks. She's created a seed bank and is really trying to preserve the original seeds, and she speaks a lot about how farmers, when the power of having these seeds is taken away from them, it really creates a lot of a lot of confusion and a lot of
power. I mean, they become poor, and then many of them commit suicide because they don't have power over the seed.
She's quite a strong lady. I find her quite amazing, actually.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is not live on Facebook.
Yeah, I put it live on YouTube because Facebook was a problem.
The power of
Okay, sorry about that. I think we're going to redo this.
Let me start the local recording as well, just in case.
the
power of the seed is so underestimated. Just because it's small, we imagine it can't make a difference. But within each of these tiny little seeds that I hold in my hand from this chenopodium plant, millions of seeds will grow. Each generation a multiplication of million. There should be no scarcity. This holds life. Millennia of evolution of the past, millennia of evolution in the future. This holds freedom. To the extent farmers have their seeds in their hands, there will never be poverty, there will never be hunger. And the minute we lose access and control to seed, the minute seed stops being a seed of renewal and starts being a seed of death, like the Terminator technology, creating sterile seeds, patents on seed that make it illegal for farmers to save and exchange seed, we get scarcity. That is why 250,000 Indian farmers have committed suicide. We've got to save the seeds of life. We've got to save the seeds of freedom. Join us in the campaign for seed freedom.
Seed is the source of life and the first link in the food chain. Control over seed means a control over our lives, our food, and our freedom. Corporations like Monsanto have created a seed emergency. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of documentary. If you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, you can watch how, you know, if a farmer actually, apparently when they grow their crops, and then sometimes the seeds will actually fly over. And then they are, you know, they're asked to, you know, they're taken to court. They're made to pay because that those seeds are patented and they cannot even, right? Even if the wind takes them across. And
or the seeds from a neighboring farm flies into your land, but you have not paid for the seeds, and the seeds germinate and grow plants in your land, then you have to pay a penalty. So it's absurd now, getting absurd.
And then this is a different kind of seed where, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is, Krishna says, I'm the seed of all life. So we watched one kind of seed, but here, this is another fascinating how the baby develops in the womb. And this scientist, he has taken real life pictures of the baby developing in the womb from conception to birth. So let's see.
Krishna says later in the Bhagavad-Gita how he's the seed-giving father of all living entities. So 25 days the heart chamber develops.
The first thing that develops in the brain.
Oh my goodness. This is funny. If this is not a miracle, what is? Oh my goodness, this is quite amazing.
Hmm.
Amazing. Yeah, and it's interesting in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an entire description, of how a baby develops in the womb from the first night all the way through 9 months, and that completely, coincides with, the modern findings. So they didn't really have X-rays and all these ultrasound machines and all that, but they knew exactly. And in that chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that how at a certain point the baby in the womb actually prays to Krishna. And there are these very beautiful prayers by the baby in the womb, where the baby essentially says that, just let me out of this very difficult condition that I find myself in. And once I'm out of this womb, I would like to dedicate my life to actually getting to know you and serving you. And of course, once the baby is out, as we know, we forget. So, yeah, it's something, I think.
Ayan, nakaruin ka ka. Okay.
Yeah. Please continue to mute yourself. Yeah. So, this is amazing. This is an amazing video.
Krishna says he's the ability in man and woman.
Yeah, he's the ability. And
so many different abilities people have, and so many fascinating things we can see in the world. This is one of the things that you cannot even imagine.
It got our imagination. So we, for a long time, we've actually been wanting to share this video. And we were just waiting for the right place where we could, share this video with you. And we just thought, oh, wow, we can share this right now because Krishna is speaking about ability. And it's amazing how, people are able to perform amazing things. So this lady here, just without further ado, to share this with you. She's a 7th-generation practitioner of single bamboo pole rafting. So, should we start?
在独竹飘上站立已经很不容易了，可是不仅要站立，还要在站立之后呢，融入舞蹈的基本功，再加上后面我开始尝试把芭蕾舞也和独竹飘相融合，慢慢的尝试把咱们的竹间鞋通过竹签来站立在独竹飘上面，然后在这个过程中是非常的困难，时不时的会摔跤啊，然后摔在就是水面上还好，如果是摔在竹子上的话，那就是硬碰硬，有时候就是有一些约轻伤，严重的时候呢就会掉肉掉皮的。
This is very interesting.
也有人质疑过，就是说我们在水面上有这个假动作，或者说我脚上有什么东西，其实不是。 它是要通过首先脚掌和脚趾的力量，把那个竹子牢牢的抓稳，然后要随着它滚动的方向，你的身体也要往另一边倾斜，再配合你手上拿的那个桨、手竿、竹子，然后来控制，不要让人摔倒。
It's quite a fascinating feat.
So all of these different vibhutis, right? Opulences that we see in the world in so many different ways. Where is it coming from, right? And we can see that this is Krishna's opulence manifesting in the living entity.
This is a quite interesting phenomena that we all cherish life. Everybody values life to the utmost. And for centuries and for millenniums, people have been trying to define what is life. And there was the study done that...
the reason why we're talking about this is because Krishna says here that I am the life of all that lives. So that's why we're talking about what is life.
And they've tried to define life in so many ways. There are over 100 definitions of life, but they're all wrong because they don't really...
Actually, there's a debate in Arizona State University where all the big names, all the big scientists all get together and they're trying to talk about what is life. And they realize that actually they don't really know what is life and how do you really define life, right? So, one of the scientists, he says, well, we don't really need to define life. When we see it, like, since we're traveling in outer space and stuff, when we see life, we'll know what it is. So, it's just, it just seems that it's so hard, right, for us to pin it down. Go ahead. I want to share something from me.
No, I think they have come up with all these definitions, like you can read them. But what they find is they always find a substance that which is actually not alive, but it satisfies those criteria that they come up in the definition. Like they have found some crystals, some infectious proteins called prions, and some even computer programs they can satisfy the definition of life that they have come up with. And like virus, they always have a debate over whether virus is alive or not because it's just a single RNA, and but it does things. It is conscious. It does things. So whether virus is live or not. So this whole debate about what is life, and then just like Krishna is mysterious, this phenomena called life is also mysterious. As long as we are trying to look for life in matter, it's always confounding.
And so, as students of Bhagavad-Gita, we understand, of course, Krishna's second chapter, right off, he talks about what is life, right? He says, wherever we see consciousness, wherever we see awareness, that is life, right? So.
Okay, just 1 second. Okay. Who are we sending?
Who do we need to send again? You have to go to the chat.
Hindi Prema.
So while we do that, if you guys have any comments or any reflections, we can take that.
I don't see Hindi Prema anymore.
Oh, you don't? Okay, maybe she just dropped out. Yeah, it's okay. Let's see. I think there's something Delia was saying. Inside the womb is easier condition than outside of it. We'll talk about that, Delia. That is an interesting point. We'll talk about that. Okay, that's it.
Share the screen again.
So, and then Krishna says that I am, let's see, where is that? Where he says, I think right in the beginning, he says, I'm the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. So, Om is, again, a very, very, everybody knows and is familiar with this syllable, but then, what is it, right? So we just described that it's a sound representation of Krishna. It's a primordial sound. And you want to go ahead and share stuff from there.
So let's look at Om a little bit more. This Om is a very powerful sound, and it is described that it has three sounds in it: A, U, and Ma. And this A sound is like the beginning of all sounds. Every single consonant and vowel, it originates from the sound.
Krishna later says, right?
Yeah.
That of all the letters, I am
The akara.
Yeah.
Akara means the beginning of all sound. So this represents Krishna, and U, it represents Radha, or all the spiritual energies of Krishna. So that's like Krishna's sum total of all energies are there in U. And Ma represents all the living entities. So in that sense, Om is like a complete representation of this absolute truth. All the energies are here in Om.
Actually, if you think about it, if you want to like categorize within the energy, the living entity and Krishna, everything is on you. There's nothing outside of that, right? Whatever we see around us, one can, fit it in Krishna and his energy. Right?
So Krishna talks about Om in few places in Bhagavad-Gita. Here in the 8th chapter, he says, Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyavharan mam anusmaran ya prayati tajan deham sayati paramam gatim. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. And we'll discuss this point
in our death section.
A little bit more, why like Om versus Hare Krishna, what is more beneficial to chant. And Om is also, it's called Pranava, which means that it is the original sound, and it is the the complete knowledge of the Vedas is included in this sound Om, and that's why it's called Pranava. And Krishna says that therefore transcendentalists undertaking performances of sacrifice, charity, and penance in accordance with scriptural regulations begin always with Om to attain the Supreme. So you'll see that all the Vedic mantras like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, so all the mantras or the Vedic mantras for any kind of sacrifice or charity, they always start with Om.
Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat. So Om indicates like truth. There is a famous story of King Bali, and Lord Vaman, who is an incarnation of Krishna, went to ask for charity from this great king. And Lord Vaman said, I just need 3 steps of land. And the king said, okay, I give it to you. And his guru, Sukracharya, he realized that Vamana is like Lord Vishnu himself, and he will take the whole universe in his 3 steps. So he told Bali that, well, you promised, but you did not promise with Om, like you did not say Om and then made the promise. So therefore your promise can be taken back. But if you make any promise starting with Om, then that promise is like, you have to keep that promise, like truth. So Om is so many things, but it is the absolute truth. And for Vaishnavas, in the Vaishnava philosophy, we emphasize, Prabhupada says, we emphasize on Hare Krishna because there are very strict requirements and regulations needed to chant Om. So for example, here it says that the yogi who chants Om at the time of death, he can reach the higher planets. But in order to chant Om, one has to be in a very clean state of mind, in clean state of body. And one needs to go through the purification before the person can sit down and chant any mantra starting with Om.
Also, I find it very interesting that if one chants and at the same time thinks of the Supreme Personality of God,
Right.
So the remembrance is actually separate.
Yes.
While in the chanting of the Hare Krishna, the remembrance and the sound utterance, they're one and the same. There's no distinction. And so in that way also, there are a lot of subtle differences. When we get to 8th chapter, then we'll get into it much more. But right?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next section is of, Krishna says, I am the intelligence of the intelligent. It's very interesting, Prabhupada, sometimes he would give this humorous little bit that, like when a thief comes to steal from someone's house, right? So Krishna gives the intelligence to the home owner that you should lock your house, keep your doors closed and stuff, right? But he also gives the intelligence to the thief that you should go and steal in this way. So the intelligence that we have, right? Whether it is, the intelligence of even a person who is like an atheist who's out there to prove that there is no God. Even that intelligence is actually coming from Krishna.
And you think of intelligence, it's such a wonderful phenomena. Like, what is intelligence? If you think that just a combination of atoms and molecules produces intelligence, then what is that intelligence that is now able to examine its own origin, the atoms and molecules that produce it. So what is it? And in that means the atoms and molecules need to have that originally in itself, that they can examine themselves. So
And I guess we always talk about this, right? That even if you go to the very root of it, you know, like you say, all right, matter organized itself, right? And it naturally, what is it? Replicates itself. So then where is that intelligence coming from? And what is that intelligence that drives, you know, a single two molecules or cells, right, to replicate itself? So Krishna says that he is that intelligence. And incidentally, Shakuntala Devi, just, you know, thought of sharing this because when I was growing up, she actually visited our town. And for those of you who may not know her, I mean, how do you understand
she's
this?
considered the human computer. She could do extraordinary lengths of mathematical computations within like seconds.
You can watch this. And then, you know, there is no way that logically one can understand how someone can do something like this. This is her in real person.
Å multiplisere det med min fødselsdag og fødselsår, får man vite det også. We'll try.
1204169 multiplied by 1008192. Here is the answer. 1, 2, 1, 4, 0, 6, 2, 6, 4, 4, 3, 6, 2, 3, 2. That's my answer. What does the facet have to say?
It's the same.
It's correct.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
She didn't even look at the numbers.
I know.
Dette var jo greie saker, det kunne jo selv jeg gjøre.
Could you just tell me how many digits it is? So that I can sort of program my mind, you see? How many digits by how many digits?
They're both 8 digits.
8-digit numbers.
Yes.
Okay, fine. And look at it once it is written down. Okay, now the question is 2, 4, 5, 9, 3, 7, 2, 8 multiplied by 3, 8, 7, 2, 2, 1, 3, 6. Now tell me, Ayas, you want me to give you the answer from this side to this side or this side to this side?
Don't tell what's the answer.
Go backwards.
I think let Chandrasekhar decide. Chandrasekhar, do you want the answer from this side to this side or this side to this side?
No, we'll keep the unconventional method later on. Let's go the conventional route first.
This way you mean?
Yeah, we have enough problem digesting multiplication.
No, this way? This way?
Why don't we do it differently? What about the panel? Would you prefer the other way? No, we should start from the left.
From this way,
yes.
left, right? Oh, okay, I got the answer already. The answer is 9, 5, 2, 3, 2, 1, 6, 8, 0, 3, 6, 3, 0, 0, 8.
I wouldn't believe if that was
Is it
right.
correct?
It's exactly correct.
Absolutely correct?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't believe that. Are you sure even 1 digit is not wrong there?
So
Perfectly correct.
again, the human brain cannot conceive of this, right?
Yeah,
How this is possible. And then after speaking on all of this, then Krishna finally he says that let's see.
And he says that like I am present in all these aspects of nature, but still people cannot know me because they're covered by this threefold energy, which is made of the modes of passion, ignorance, and goodness. And because of that, one does not see me. And then he concludes this section by saying that this divine energy of mine is impossible to overcome.
Yeah, the exact translation for that is, this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So, we of course, we have an experience of this energy. Right now in Corona, we are dealing with this energy, right? And we are trying so hard to overcome it, but finding ourselves so limited. But this is just a little example. This whole material world is actually compared to a great ocean. The Sanskrit word for that is bhavasagar. which means that it is this unlimited ocean, and we have sort of fallen into this ocean. And there's a very beautiful prayer by Lord Chaitanya where he says that I've fallen into this ocean and I'm being tossed around by these waves. So please kindly pick me up. You know, this is a prayer to Krishna. And so it just this, when you watch this video, you know, it really gives us a sense of what we are dealing with, right?
Yeah, sometimes when we look at nature and we discover or understand some aspect of how the nature works, and it kind of gives us the false pride or illusion that, oh yeah, now I figured it out. I figured out nature. I can now control it. But nature is so ferocious and so powerful that we can't even imagine.
Exactly, because like right now we've been doing sort of our preparation for the 8th chapter, right, which is on death and dying. And you know, just you know, there's just a sense that, oh, perhaps if we do it this way and that way, we'll be able to conquer nature and we'll be able to find, you know, immortality, for example, right? And yet we forget that all it takes is one tiny little virus. And you know, even now we are so subject to, you know, when we have forest fires, for example, right? We are so helpless in the face of these natural calamities.
And in the laws of nature, there's so many laws of nature. Despite all our advancement and knowledge, we can't even tweak one law of nature, even a tiny bit. We don't have the power to tweak the law of nature. So then what to speak of controlling nature?
So let's watch this. It's quite intense. Prabhupada gives an example that somebody, even if someone is an expert swimmer, but if they fall, right, in an ocean like that, how far can you swim? So all our power and our strength is actually useless in the face of this energy.
And this is not just a ship, actually, we are sitting in the ship.
I remember when I was growing up, there was a painting like this. I never thought I would actually see a video. So, you know, just today, actually, I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam in Chaitanya Charitamrita. No, actually, we were reading in our family business, the book when we were reading about how, but this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is described that the tears that a living entity sheds in the entire journey of their, in this entire journey of their material existence is actually enough to fill up an entire ocean. And it's, you know, like Krishna saying that this ocean is impossible to overcome and to cross over. But it is also described that just by approaching Krishna, this entire big, vast ocean becomes reduced, or it shrinks to the size of water that is contained in the hoof print of a calf. So when a calf walks, it makes an imprint in the wet mud, right? So it's very small. So can you imagine how little water would be contained in that hoof print? So this entire unlimited ocean, which is so vast, gets reduced to just that much water. And then one can easily walk over it. So this is what Krishna is also saying here, right?
Yeah, that's the only way we can
Overcome
this energy.
So should we just quickly pause and then continue with Prabhupada's, this is, so we are going to end now with a very nice lecture that Prabhupada gives on the same topic. So we'll read that as our ending, but we just want to see if you guys have any. I have this one from you. Oh, I didn't bring it.
Okay. So any reflections or thoughts? Reminds me of my days in Merchant Navy when sail across the oceans and face rough sea all the time. Wow.
Really? As bad as this, Tapas Prabhu ever? Not really, right? Not possible, right?
No, why not?
Is it?
Many times.
Really?
Many times.
Wow.
Many times.
That must have been so scary.
Well, even though I was not a surrendered soul that time, but I guess as I look back, I feel that Krishna was saving us all the time there.
That's amazing. I can't even imagine being on a ship like that.
Like water coming inside the ship.
The whole ship will go inside the water and come back up.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, Krishna. Don't want to be there.
Or like the Titanic, where it actually went down.
Yeah. So, anybody else with any other thoughts or questions, and then we read about seeds. They need to be in the right environment in order to grow. I think Delia has seen something. They need to be in the right environment in order to grow. Many seeds never sprout, and some seeds need to be nurtured and protected more than others. How do we understand this in terms of spirit?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I can only guess that if a seed does not nurture and dies, that means that the soul in that seed basically leaves that seed and then goes to some other place.
Where, when and how life is going to grow is not something that's random, even though it seems random, right? There is order there, and it's, if a certain seed is not meant to sprout and continue its journey through that, then it's not going to sprout, right?
Yeah, without the soul, the seed is not going to sprout and grow. Any organization of matter into like this form of growth, and it cannot happen by matter itself. Yeah, like a stillborn baby. Yeah, the soul has kind of. Yes, Shweta, go ahead.
Yes.
Sringaras.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I was hearing a lecture in which I heard, and I'm having difficulty understanding this point, that intelligence basically just tells us what is what. It doesn't help us discriminate. For example, if there is a rock and there is an orange, it will just tell us that this is round and it is hard substance, and the other one is orange and it is soft, but it wouldn't tell us that the role of intelligence is not to tell us that we should pick this orange to eat rather than the stone. It only just describes the differences.
Well, yeah, I haven't heard that. The description part is more for the mind, like absorbing the facts and processing the facts. And the intelligence part comes into, like, once the mind decides that, okay, I want to, the intelligence can look at the picture. If the mind says, okay, decide now whether it's actual orange or a fake orange, then the intelligence can work in that direction and try to decide based on the other facts that it needs.
Yeah, the intelligence is constantly acting in that way, right? It's giving us the parameters based on which, it tells us, right, that, yeah, you should do this or you should not do that. And it takes into consideration all of these different things. What to speak of between a rock and an orange, it even tells us whether this particular orange is going to be sweet or not, right? Just by looking at it, we go, okay, this looks like a sweet orange, or this doesn't, right? Or this is a ripe avocado and this is not. So this is all happening at the level of the intelligence. So I don't know if there's something that we are missing in this question, but yeah, I mean, this is actually the difference between a machine intelligence and a human intelligence, because a machine intelligence is what you are describing, Shringar, where it can, just like a camera, can capture an image and say, oh, this is this and this is that. And it's very impersonal and it is very rigid, right? And that's actually one of the difficulties that they're having with self-driving cars, because they don't really know how can a car really know that, what's going on? Is it a dummy or is it a real person, right? But a human being, because there is consciousness and there is awareness, is able to distinguish between two things on a much deeper plane and also have an experience of that. So hope that helps. Let's see.
Shweta is asking, is there soul in every seed? There has to be a soul in the seed for the seed to grow. I mean, that's the bottom line. Whether it's
But if the seed is dead, like sometimes, you can like sort of boil a seed or something.
yeah, then
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm not sure. This is something that I need to find out. Is whether the soul enters the seed when everything is right and then the seed is about to fructify and grow, or is the soul sitting in the seed like forever until the seed gets a chance, and if it doesn't get a chance, then the soul will leave. So I'm not sure about. I haven't read that.
Yeah, we haven't read that, but we can try and find out. It's a good question. Maybe next time we'll ask someone and then we'll let you know. Yeah, that's true. The miscreants derive energy from Krishna, then they also get punished by Krishna. Then why give them the energy in the first place?
I mean, that's the perennial question. Like Prahlad Maharaj, he told his father that you're also getting your energy from the same Supreme who's giving me this intelligence and energy. So why give them the energy in the first place? Because Krishna is kind. He wants every living entity to. It's the same question that why do we come into this material world in the first place? Because Krishna allows us to use our freedom, and in order to enjoy and experience this life without Krishna, we need to get energy from Krishna because he's the source of all energy. Otherwise, how will we experience that? If Krishna pulls the plug on everybody who wants to go away from him, then everybody would be dead. And Krishna doesn't want that. He wants us to exercise our free will and then experience this world without him.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? I think more than a question, it's a state of wonder that even people who are acting in such horrible ways, sometimes destructive ways, even they get their regular dose of sunlight and water and air and everything else that's required for that, and the intelligence
And
actually
they
to
flourish.
destroy. And they flourish even. So it's quite amazing. People use the words mind, brain, intelligence to refer to different concepts. Yes, Delia. And even in our understanding of the Bhagavad-Gita, when we say the mind, intelligence, and false ego, it's really a difference in functionality, but it's really the subtle body, right? Eric, what about seeds produced in a dream? One of our president's medical advisors said a few weeks ago that some diseases are caused by relations with demons that occur in dreams. What does the Krishna consciousness movement say about this idea? Could you explain that more? What about seeds produced? What do you mean seeds produced in dreams? I understand the second part.
Like the seeds of disease or something.
Oh, one of our presidents.
Yeah,
I'm referring to a news story that came out, I don't know, like maybe a month ago, in which a group of doctors basically challenged the accepted wisdom about the coronavirus. And the video of their presentation was censored on many platforms because of some of the things they were saying. And there was one person in particular whose name was Dr. Stella Emanuel, who practices in Houston, who has this idea that many diseases occur after a person experiences some kind of sexual relations with demons in dreams. And I was just wondering, since the Krishna consciousness movement is open to the idea of demons and non-material beings, is there anything in that tradition that might address this issue and say whether that's a correct idea or an incorrect idea? Because no one in the media took it seriously. They thought it was just a big joke, but who knows?
Right. Well, there is some discussion of that there can be subtle beings that can sometimes, take control over one's mind. But those diseases are more at the level of the mind. And, physical diseases I've never heard of.
That especially like through the dream. I've never read that in any of Prabhupada's books, that the demon or the subtle beings can have come into our dreams and then
cause any kind
of physical disease through the dreams. I haven't read that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there is, to that, there is definitely an understanding that when someone's unclean in their habits, then the subtle beings, they can actually overpower our intelligence and sort of possess you and cause a lot of, like mental disturbances and stuff like that. Again, we are not an expert on this subject. There might be something, but nothing. Even in the study of Ayurveda, actually, I've never studied anything like that.
Okay.
So now we can read Prabhupada's. And then we'll stop. part of it maybe.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I just have a quick question. It's a simple one.
Yes.
Is it okay to remove weeds, because weeds also have soul, or is it okay to spray insecticides onto the ants that is trying to enter your house? Is it okay to basically protect ourselves from these things?
I mean, not directly on the ants and things like that. I mean, if you spray something that prevents them from getting in, I mean, that is all right. As far as taking weeds out, just chant Hare Krishna while you're taking them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's understood that, our life here in this world it cannot, I mean, even the act of breathing involves some amount of violence,
Yeah.
right? So we try to minimize that as much as possible. And at the same time, we try to be, we try to use our common sense. And this is the reason why Krishna ends the Bhagavad-Gita by saying that, hey, no matter how hard you try, you're going to incur karma living in this world. So, just surrender unto me and do all your activity. We talked about that work which is done as a form of yajna actually, does not create any bondage because there's no more karmic reaction. So but that we should not take that for like as a license, right, to kill.
So we can read from here. You guys can see the screen, right?
Yes.
So, Delia, would you like to read? So his energy is working.
There's some Sanskrit verses. You can skip that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll read. Sure. So his energy is working even in the water. You can perceive his energy within the water. We are daily using water. We are tasting water. So you can perceive Krishna's presence, Krishna's all-pervasiveness, even while you drink water. Every one of us, we drink water. And so the taste of water, Krishna says, here I am. This is impersonal feature, but the person is behind.
Maya Dakshena Prakriti.
Water is one of the product of this material nature, but behind this essence of water is Krishna. Then you can understand Krishna. You try to understand by studying his energy. Therefore, Krishna is described that although you cannot see me just now, end quote, because in the preliminary stage, nobody can see Krishna, although Krishna is present anywhere.
Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastham.
He is present within the atom, but it requires the qualified eyes to see him or purified senses to perceive him. Should I continue?
Let's see.
Talks about tasting. Give us a minute. Let's see. I think this is good. So even if you are not inclined to chant Hare Krishna mantra, go ahead. You can skip maybe a couple of paragraphs here.
Okay. So even if you are not inclined to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then try to understand Krishna in this way. This is the process given by Sri Krishna himself.
Rasom Apsu Kanteya.
You have to drink water, you cannot avoid it. So when you taste while drinking water, anything drinking,
Apsu.
Apsu. Apsu means any liquid thing. Either you drink milk or even you drink wine. So you have got some taste in any liquid thing while drinking. So Krishna says, my dear Konteya, Arjuna, that taste in the liquid thing which you drink or use, that is I am. Just see how it is easily can be done. Nobody is without drinking something liquid, either Coca-Cola or water or this or that, something must be drinking. So Krishna says that I am the taste. So where is the difficulty of understanding Krishna? If we cannot, then say, can you show me Krishna? All right, here is Krishna, see. Seeing means directly perception. When I say, let me see what is this mango, you are seeing already. Here, seeing means tasting. Let me see the mango, that means seeing means tasting.
Read one more. This is a really good one.
So we've got so many senses and we taste different senses. We can see by eye, we can taste by the tongue, we can hear by the ear, we can smell by the nose, we can touch by the hand. So we have got all senses, and by senses we get experience. So if you try to experience Krishna by this process, then whenever you drink something liquid and taste it very nicely, you consider this taste is Krishna. Is it very difficult for Krishna realization? And because you'll remember Krishna, actually that taste is Krishna, because that water is also Krishna. Water is Krishna is in this sense. It is the energy of Krishna, just like fire and the heat. Heat is the energy of Krishna. So heat and fire is not distinct. They are the same. Still, the heat is not the fire. This is called a Chinta Veda Veda philosophy, simultaneously one and different. Simultaneously, everything.
I think that's
Very
good.
nice.
Thank you.
Very nice, yeah.
So
So any thoughts or reflections? It would also be nice for us to, like one thing we heard that we want to reflect back to the group. It's called, there are two parts to the process of bhakti. One is hearing, so there is shravanam, which means hearing, and then there's kirtanam, which means glorifying or repeating what we have.
like we saw those three dolls, right? One has a hole from the ear to the heart, hole from here to the mouth. So this is the time to be the doll which has the hole from the ear to the mouth.
So whatever you've heard, one thing that you want to give back to the group. So.
Sindhu and Raghu, would you like to make any reflection?
Thank you.
See, I'm just calling out on people who are normally
It can
quiet.
be anyone actually.
Yeah.
Maybe people who normally speak can start, and then people can join in.
Okay.
But this is a very good way for this knowledge to actually steep in just deeper. Yeah. So, we aren't so many of us here right now. So just feel free, just one thing that you heard. It could be something very simple. Just repeat it back.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes. Yes, Shringa. Yes, Shweta, go ahead.
I think Krishna is the biggest magician. Like we saw, an embryo develops into a child, and the seed grows into a big tree and huge tree. A small seed can grow into a huge tree. So we see magic all the time around us. So like that was a part I really, I'm amazed to realize that. Yeah.
Wonderful realization. Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta.
Beautiful. Anybody else? Maybe we just go around. Naji, you want to share something? Anything that you saw or heard today that you want to?
Sure. I was just trying to look up the exact verse, but Krishna says he's the ability of the able, or I forget the exact verse. I was just thinking that seems very interesting. I mean, I've tried to connect with Krishna that way before, like when I'm doing something and I'm feeling like, oh, I'm like capable of doing this and feeling confident. I've tried to connect with Krishna through that before.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Amrita? Kalpana, Shashi?
I had one more thing to say.
Yes, Eric, would love to hear from you.
And it's basically that it's not about any particular point, but just in general. I was kind of listening tonight and catching up on some work at the same time. So I was sort of just taking in the flow of ideas. And the sense I got was that Hinduism and Krishna consciousness are so focused on the positive aspects of life and seeds. And that idea is so at odds with our culture here in the US, which seems to be so focused on death and snuffing out of life unless it meets all the exact conditions that people want. And so I think it's that respect for life that we need to rediscover in our country.
Thank you. Yeah, and when we see the sacredness of life, right, then we have a deeper appreciation and we can live a life of gratitude, right?
And I think the distance that you're talking about is mainly coming from this wrong conception that life comes from matter, and seeing that, especially after what Darwin did, this theory of evolution that basically said that okay, life comes from chemicals, and you are basically a bunch of chemicals, and then it becomes so much easier to just
Actually, that
partake in-
happened. That happened to you, right?
Yeah.
So when he was in college, he was really exploring the purpose and the meaning of life, and he was reading books on astronomy and all these different things, right? And then finally, came to a place of just complete, like a
standstill and darkness,
emptiness.
emptiness and darkness. There's no answers after that. How can you explain matter? Matter basically is darkness, as you're saying that. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Amrita. Just like Krishna explains to Arjuna that he's the taste of the liquid that one drinks, just like that, we can also only understand Krishna by experiencing. Very nice point, Amrita. Excellent point. Thank you so much. I think Delhi also had a reflection there. Let's see. The nail analogy from last class stayed with me. The finger makes the fingernail, but the fingernail cannot make the finger. Very nice. Very nice. For me personally, I was also struck by, how Krishna is so magnanimous. And of course, Prabhupada is, expanding on that idea that even if someone is seeing the taste in wine or alcohol, right, then also one can make spiritual progress. That's amazing to me. Daryl, Ashley, any Shashi? I know we guys are putting you on a spot here, but we really, would like to hear from you guys. We speak too much, I think. Excellent. It's very interesting how healing, blessings, baptism, marriages, and initiations are done with water in bodies of water or near bodies of water, with the energy of Krishna being the energy of the water, like water, even how Krishna is sometimes depicted as sky blue. Yeah.
Crystal blue waters.
Yeah. Yes.
Water and Krishna. Yeah.
Very nice.
That's one of the properties of water, is to purify, and that comes from Krishna.
Nice. In fact, it's described that people who would like to practice spiritual life, they would find a water body, and they would go and.
It's said that as Kali Yuga progresses more and more, it will be very, very difficult to find a water body, and people, even when they find a puddle of water, they will think, oh, this is such a holy place, because all bodies of water.
Because it's interesting. We actually, on our way back to South Dakota, we stopped at several natural bodies of water, just swam in them, just enjoyed them.
Yeah, we love it too. Some of our favorite places all have to do with water. Thank you so much. So I guess if there's no one else I'm scared about what more is. Oh yeah, you have to read Srimad Bhagavatam.
12th canto.
12th canto. It gives us some sense. And we can already, actually, it's interesting you say that, because just today I was thinking about that. I thought, gosh, like we are living our life, which is so disconnected, right? And I worry most about the next generation. What world are they going to come into, and what would their, like just children who are growing up, just, their reality is this little screen, right? So many children growing up, they're experiencing life through a screen. And how's that going to impact their ability to form relationships and to experience, right? It's just, I can't even conceive of it. Like I really don't know what that's going to look like. But yeah, it's all coming up, and it's and that's why I think this knowledge can help, right?